Many in the current day know about the dinosaurs and the role they played, but what came before? Life didn't just appear with the snap of someone's fingers. In fact, the Earth is about 4.4 billion years old, give or take 1 or 2 billion years. Most of that time was spent with small single-celled organisms, but quite suddenly an explosion of diversity in the oceans happened during an event commonly known as the Cambrian Explosion. Since then, life has diversified into many shapes and sizes, but would anyone believe that around 250 million years ago, the Earth came the closest it's ever been to being devoid of all life? Well, as it turns out, such an extinction happened in an event known as the Great Dying. However, why did this extinction happen? What animals were alive when it did? That's what we're going to find out on today's episode of The Ugly Truth. Well, to start, people have to understand how the Permian Period began. The Carboniferous period was a trying time for vertebrates. The world was covered in vast swamps, and for the only time in their history, arthropods, invertebrate creatures with exoskeletons, ruled the world. The ancestors to all reptiles, mammals, and birds, called amniotes, had just evolved, but they were small and not a present threat to the raining bugs. Giant spiders like Mesotheliae were the dominant land predators, while, for the first time in history, animals took to the sky. Meganeura was a dragonfly the size of an eagle. However, the growth of these monster arthropods were mainly due to the swamps they called their homes. When the swamps collapsed due to the drying climate, the monster arthropods went extinct, and the Carboniferous glory days were over. The giant bugs weren't the only thing affected by the drying climate. The monster trees pumping oxygen into the atmosphere also collapsed, but because of the lack of microbes to eat the trees, the foliage fossilized and turned into what we now know as coal. The changing climate allowed for a more adaptable group to claim the world, the tetrapods. There were two types of tetrapods at the beginning of the Permian period, synapsids and sauropsids. The synapsids, or ancestors of all mammals, would go on to take over the Permian period. The sauropsids would mother an entirely different dynasty of killers, reptiles and birds. Yes, this includes the dinosaurs. Tetrapods spread out and diversified into many different species, including the first herbivorous vertebrate landlubbers. These were the pelycosaurs, the very first synapsids. At first, they weren't much different than the sauropsids. However, it was soon apparent that these creatures were regulating their body temperature and had more specialized teeth than any other animal around. However, yet more climate change forced the animals to adapt, leading to the very first therapsids. Therapsids, to put it simply, were basically half mammal, half reptile. They replaced the pelycosaurs as the dominant force on land. They were still technically synapsids, but they had some key differences from their earlier counterparts. For one thing, these animals were the first creatures to chew their food. This helped them get more nutrients out of their food than simply swallowing it whole. Another adaptation to the New World Order was in the predators. Giant killers like the Gorgonopsid evolved a higher bite force than anything that had come before, and to top it off, most therapsids during the late Permian period were warm-blooded. Even in the oceans, predators like the Helicoprion evolved. This bizarre animal had a spiral of shark-like teeth, but was actually more related to the ratfish than the shark. However, this biodiversity would come to a catastrophic end in the later years of the Permian, when between 90 and 95% of all life went extinct. For years, scientists were puzzled by this extinction. The layers of rock showed millions of years of diversity, which just ended around 250 million years ago. Giant predators such as Dinogorgon weren't even spared. Even in the oceans, the mighty Helicoprion couldn't make it. So what caused this loss of life? Alright, strap yourselves in. It's now time for science! Well, one theory says that a massive volcanic eruption in an area known as the Siberian Traps spewed out billions of tons of lava, but the theory has some flaws. For one thing, the temperature change caused by the eruption would not be enough to kill on the scale that actually happened. Another theory says that a meteor hit the Earth. However, there is too little evidence to support this theory due to the lack of debris in the Earth's crust. The final theory states that methane from the Earth's crust flooded into the atmosphere, warming the Earth about 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, or about 39 to 41 degrees Fahrenheit. However, this theory too has some flaws. For one thing, to release the methane, the Earth would have already had to have heated up about 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. What could have possibly heated the atmosphere up another 4 to 5 degrees Celsius? I don't know. Maybe a large volcanic eruption in Siberia? And that's exactly what happened. Probably. Could have. Maybe. It would have heated the atmosphere enough to release the methane into the atmosphere, which, you guessed it, warmed the planet another 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. Now, 10 degrees Celsius may not seem like much, but in Fahrenheit terms, we're talking about 50 degrees, which is a lot. Naturally, such high temperatures would dry the earth so much that deserts would have spread to just about everywhere. With such a strain on life, nothing would really have been able to survive. Almost. When the chaos cleared, the megafauna was gone and the earth was barren. Life was essentially gone everywhere you looked. But the real miracle was underground, not above. A little burrowing animal known as Thonaxodon was able to avoid the catastrophe and live on. This creature was a cynodont, one of the few species to survive the extinction. In fact, mostly only burrowing animals survived. Little creatures such as Diectodon could burrow underground and find tubers to eat. Staying away from the burning sun while also being able to eat is a huge advantage. This luckily produced another generation of animals that would survive into the Triassic period, but the synapsids' glory days were ending. With the start of the Triassic, the Mesozoic era, or more commonly known as the Age of Dinosaurs, had begun. The synapsids would go on to become the mammals, living in the shadows of the dinosaurs until an asteroid hit the Gulf of Mexico 65 million years ago, ending the reign of dinosaurs for good. In total, the Permian Period was a truly catastrophic time for life on Earth. Most of life on Earth died in an event that is still widely disputed between scientists. The Permian displayed what life was capable of, creating the first megafauna, displaying a wide variety of different animals, and creating a genus that led to you and me. It's hard to imagine the world without the Permian Period, because it led to the evolution of mammals, crocodiles, and even the dinosaurs, which eventually led to birds, which sums up to this section nicely. Huge thanks to PBS Eons and the British Broadcasting Corporation, or BBC, for providing the information used in this video. Thanks to you, the viewers, for watching. If you enjoy the content I post, consider liking and subscribing. Also hit the bell icon so you can see when I post a new video. Who knows? It may help with a research paper or something. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Sayonara!